Ladies and gentlemen, this is the state of the scene.
Yo, what the fuck is up, Warped Tour? The state of the scene at SOTS Podcast on all social media. Sam here with Marcos.
Hey, you. Get fucked.
Get fucked, bro. Get the fuck out of here.
No, it's like an Amity thing.
Oh, what do you mean?
Hey, God, get fucked? Is that the lyric?
Oh, yeah. I've been mad at Amity for years now.
You've been mad at Amity.
I thought that band was coming after me personally. I was like, no, you get fucked, the Amity affliction.
No, I'm saying, hey, you, the listener, the person watching on YouTube, get fucked.
Yeah.
Like, respectfully. Like, go get fucked out there today. We're rooting for you.
Yeah.
I think it's, hey, God, get fucked in the lyric for Amity Affliction, is it not?
What do they mean by that?
Do you think it's also respectfully?
Nah, I think
like,
it's
when was the last time you think God? Oh,
I think it's disrespectful.
All right, well, maybe.
Amity Affliction don't fuck with God, bro. Been saying it for
on
a
the
while
record.
now. And we got to take him to task. Not my church. You see, I mean, obviously you fucking saw that Akira Toriyama died, the creator of Dragon Ball and other bunch of cool shit.
In peace. Probably one of the most influential like pop culture figures, fucking animators, storytellers that has ever existed.
I literally put that dude above every fucking artist that's ever existed. Like Picasso, literally get out of here. Like,
I saw a tweet today that was like, I like how we all collectively saw Future Trunks for the first time and were like, that's the most badass anyone's ever looked.
Bro, it's just like, it's so much fucking shit. Like, it's not like anyone doesn't know what Dragon Ball Z is, right? Like, it doesn't even matter if you ever fucking watched it. You just know what it is.
You know.
Dragon Ball Z got me through my whole life. It goes like emo music, Dragon Ball Z, in that order.
But they're hand in hand because you have to remember, like, dude, I was raised on like Dragon Ball Z AMVs with like Linkin Park, fucking Hoobastank, like anyone who was anybody back in like 2002.
System of a Down, Chop Suey, Vegeta Fight Goku, raised.
You were like, that was like this scene's version of being knighted for a minute, is of like if your music got overlaid over a Dragon Ball Z AMV, then that you were it.
Yeah, you got like knighted.
Yeah.
They should really bring that shit back. Like whatever the hot anime is right now, like Attack on Titan or fucking whatever.
Slayer.
Like just start slap a Bad Omen song.
No, we've seen it,
bro. Slap
we've
a
seen
Sleep
it.
Token song. Yeah, but it's not infiltrating.
Who did it recently? Someone
popular
did it with
culture. I mean, a lot of bands.
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Psycho Frame, I think.
Yeah, might have been it. Yeah.
Like a lot of bands have like kind of done, but I needed to break through.
Merch wise, a lot of bands have.
Oh yeah, obviously. Like, do you own any like band shirts that are like anime designs?
I own the Bad Omens Attack on Titan one.
Fucking of course you do, bro.
I own the Bad Omens Death Note one.
All right, keep going.
That one's still in the plastic. I
own the Bad Omens Death Note collection, right, from back in 2021.
Those are the two that popped to mind. Oh no,
say Bad Omens
again.
I'm gonna fucking cry laughing.
No, I mean I don't know. Does Yu-Gi-Oh count as an anime? I feel like it does. Brand of Sacrifice back in the day.
Does Yu-Gi-Oh count as an anime?
Yeah.
Are you fucking for real right now?
Well, it's like a fucking animated Saturday morning cartoon type vibe, you know?
That dude's dead too.
Fuck, that's right.
Right, bro? Two legends.
And both like on the younger side for sure.
Yeah, I think Akira was like 67, I think I remember correctly. I woke up and that was like the first thing I saw this morning. I was like, fuck this whole day. Like, I don't have the energy to go through with this right now.
I forget, didn't the Yu-Gi-Oh guy die trying to like save someone?
I can't speak
in
to
the
that.
Ocean. I don't remember.
That doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah.
Maybe though.
Maybe.
Like, fucking baller way to go out, I guess, but I don't know if that's the case.
Might be thinking of someone else, but maybe.
Anyways, fucking stream Dragon Ball Z. Play Dragon Ball Fighters, and you know, watch a music video with like Vegeta fighting Goku. Like run it back today for a real one.
Who's your favorite Who's your favorite DBZ character? Like any variation?
Yeah.
Like, because there's like 43 Vegetas, 43 Gokus. Do you have one?
It's Krillin. It's always been Krillin, and I can't explain why, but I was immediately attached to that fucking dork. And like Pete Krillin, let's talk about Pete Krillin right now.
You just saw you and him.
The baddest motherfucker in the universe. Cell shows up. Cell shows up, right? Cell shows up, and Krillin does not back down, bro. Just fuck blast his ass, bro.
Braver than the Marines.
Makes a getaway. Like Krillin fucking showed up in Cell Saga. It's fucking crazy, bro. Always respect him. You?
Second to Future Trunks on the most badass anyone has ever looked. Majin Vegeta, bro.
Oh, bro, the smile,
dog.
The smile. Somebody tweeted today like, y'all don't understand how funny Akira Toriyama was on top of how talented of an artist he was. Just the fact Vegeta as a character exists is like a level of brilliance like that most people never like acquire. Yeah. Fuck, man.
Sad. A lot of legends passing.
Such a bummer.
Sucks.
As always, every link you need in the description of this episode, including our socials, playlist, merch, and Discord. Subscribe to us on YouTube at SOTS Podcast YT, and leave a thumbs up if you're watching the video version of this podcast. Also, comment your favorite Dragon Ball Z character. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please leave 5 stars. And if you want to support the show, consider becoming a patron for exclusive content, the ability to submit questions to the show, and producer credits on all of our video content. Patrons also receive access to the bonus podcast, SOTS Deluxe. On this week's Deluxe, we talk new music from, you guessed it, Millionaires. Scene Queen, a divisive new song from Scene Queen, according to like 300 fucking quote tweets I had when I shared the song. And new heat from the Plot and You. Plus, Ranking the Scene, our brand new weekly show, is early access on our Patreon. This week, we bring to the table Amur, Silverstein, and Slipknot. Add them to the ever-growing tier. Go get caught up now on our YouTube channel, Ranking the Scene. Marcos.
Lots of content over on the Patreon suddenly. Almost too much for $3.
Drowning in content, bro. Like, our patrons are like, no, stop, too much.
And we're like, we're going to keep it coming.
All for $3 a month? Crazy.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Dated discourse this week, Marcos. Is rowing in the mosh pit okay? Twitter user...
No, it ain't.
All right, you get ahead of here. Hold on. Twitter user Chris R shared a video from a recent Death Heaven concert of the mosh pit and sat on the floor rowing. Was the entirety of that audience. Chris captioned that tweet, "Ever seen a bunch of folk row at a gig?" As every innocuous post on Twitter does, Marcos, it became fuel for a larger argument around if and when it is okay to row crew while the band is performing. Good Dog commented, "Yes, a few times. And it wasn't funny the first time," he was answering the original post. Nikki said, "This is the single worst moment of the entire tour so far. No bands want this shit," all capitals. Emo Baby Yoda said, "I have done a row pit and they are so dumb and fun. I don't know why some of y'all are hating so hard. LOL, grow up." And finally, Simon said, "Look, I'm a big fan of letting people have fun, but listen to the music and then look at what they're doing. It doesn't make sense. Stop it." Andrew over on our Patreon, Marcus, also had a comment about the subject. "Rowing in the pit is cool if it rhythmically or emotionally matches the music on the stage. But if it's just for the bit, it doesn't have anything to do with the music happening in the moment, then it shouldn't be happening." Marcus, you had an extremely fiery take a few weeks ago about people dressing up in costumes to come to concerts. You found yourself at the end of the discourse spear because you said no, quit being the main character. Do you feel as if this rowing shit is part of that same problem?
I would like to announce my that I'm running this election year for Scene President, Sam.
Okay.
Live on the show, I'd like to announce that. And as your president for this scene, I'd promise no more bits. 0 bits.
What do you mean?
I would outlaw bits. I'd go over the Supreme Court's head, and I'd get rid of all bits. No more shark costumes at shows.
You're running on a dictatorship. Is that what you're doing right now?
If democracy don't work, you know, is all I'm saying. Yeah. So no more sharks, no more rowing, no more light up shoes for the crowd surfers. All that shit's out the window.
If it's not in the Constitution, it's not in the mosh pit.
I think we've been way too allowing in this scene.
Yeah, far too allowing, which God knows is not the word you were looking for in this instance.
Far too allowing.
Laid back, maybe.
I mean, this is despicable.
Rowing is
Simon
despicable?
Has a point. If you listen to the band, this rowing nonsense doesn't make sense.
That's the disconnect for me. You see, I think that having fun in the mosh pit should be allowed. And I think the mosh pit is like, it's a free zone. You know what I mean? Go in there and do the stupidest shit you can possibly think about. Like, we've all agreed.
They were already doing that.
We've all agreed that we are going to empty a circular space on the floor for you to just go be a dumb asshole. We've all agreed to that. Yeah. Like, that's like, it doesn't even have to be said. It's an understanding. And if you choose to get in that mosh pit and row a boat, God be with you. Now, all that being said, if the vibes don't even call for a mosh pit, well, now you're just going main character deluxe
Overdrive.
New Game Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you've disconnected so far from, like, you're all about having fun, but you've forgotten that somebody is actually on that stage performing for you. And it's like, there is a balance here somewhere.
That will
like, you
always
just can't
be the killer.
Go to a concert and start throwing a football. Yes, you are being a distracting asshole.
Sam, what is a band?
What do you? Well, wow. I don't understand the fucking question. To be honest with you.
Maybe not the best question, but the answer is that they are entertainers.
Yes.
Every musician on that
out
stage,
there in the audience,
every musician
not a
on that stage,
entertainer.
Exactly. You are there to absorb that show.
You're there to absorb.
You are not part of the act.
Shut the fuck up. Watch the show. Mosh when it's appropriate to mosh.
Yeah.
And if it's a fucking silly fun band, get in there and row a little bit, like whatever, or do that thing where everybody like holds arms and they all kick at the same time. It's fine. But like, if you're at a Deaf Heaven show and like the vibes are low key and everybody's chilling and you're in that wouldn't it be hilarious mode, well, now you're actually being disrespectful of the band. Like, I know you think you should be allowed to do anything because you paid $39.95 plus ticket fees to be there, but like, you're not supporting the artist at that point. You're supporting your own fucking weird ego.
Yeah, you want to do that shit, save it for like emo night. There's no entertainers at emo night outside of like the DJ.
Perfect for a rowing mosh pit. You heard it here
but like,
first.
Right. I mean, you're onto something in that like
it's like a time and place thing.
Bro, no, it's not even that. It's like
it's not that.
It's the equivalent of whipping your phone out during a movie. Just because you're bored during this song or this moment doesn't mean that you get to without consequence, like freely express yourself in the form of sitting down and rowing on the floor. Like that shit should be outlawed.
Okay.
I'm over it. No more bits.
No more bits. Patreon questions this week, Marcus. If you want to write into the show, patreon.com/SOTS podcast, $3 a month. Caillou asks, what's the final song you'd like to hear in the same spirit of Death Row's Last Meal? Last song you ever hear in your whole life.
This is a heavy question.
Yeah, I guess I've never really thought about it.
I wasn't like prepared.
I guess like I just want it to be whatever I happen to be listening to at that moment. And then like I don't want to see death coming. You know what I mean? Like If I got my headphones on and I'm walking down the street and a wrecking ball is about to fall out of the fucking sky, then like it's
you want to be listening to Wrecking Ball by Miley Cyrus.
Here's what I'm saying is like there's like a scary version of this where it's like you know your future and it's like you know the last song you're gonna hear before you die. And it's like every time that song comes on, you're sweating. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I just want it to be some random song.
There's definitely been a lot of moments where like suddenly I become hyper aware that like I'm driving like a fucking 1-ton death machine, and so are all the people around me, and I'm listening to a bad song and I immediately have to change it because I'm not going to go out listening to that.
Like, am I going to die? And the last song I've ever listened to is Daughtry. Man. I hope not.
What a weird Daughtry shade right now.
I was trying to think of a bad
today?
band, but I felt like I had to go outside of our scene because I didn't want people to be like, I actually like, even though someone like
it feels like you're punching down.
At least one person will be like, no, Daughtry covered Sleep Token. It's like, all right, yeah, he's cool now. Relax. You don't remember this?
No, I said they did. Yeah. Like not like just in the studio, but like
I know he's great. No band is bad.
Live.
Who's bad? Who could I have
live.
said, bro? Five Finger Death Punch. That'd be a rough way to go.
Be a rough way to go for sure.
Not my president. And then I just fucking like fall into a manhole.
Is that what they sound like nowadays?
No, it's been a while since last time I listened to a song, it was about like literally the Republic or something. I don't fucking.
Yeah. Didn't we watch a video once where they were like,
yeah, that was literally the last song I listened to by them. It was like George Washington did all this for us or something. I don't fucking know, bro. Did you pick a song? I did.
I'm gonna hit you with something crazy.
I guess.
I'm gonna go with one of Mozart's symphonies so that I at least have like what 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. This is like choosing the buffet as your last meal.
Exactly.
It's like it'll just go
like,
eternally.
I'm gonna go out on my own terms, you know?
Yeah.
So what if I'm gonna kill myself before you even have the chance to kill me?
I'm going to listen to 24 hours of white noise. Alex asks, should bands bring back artsy detailed band tees? Examples like The Devil Wears Prada and Asking Alexandria back in their heyday.
Just call it a Hot Topic shirt. What are we doing?
Yeah, monster shirts.
It's like the wordiest way of saying...
Yeah, Alex.
Right.
Why use so many words when 3 work? Jeez.
Okay, Kevin.
No.
Yeah, I would love this.
No. It's washed. It's washed.
You're washed.
I'm sorry. Every time a band tries to run this back, it just does not hit the same.
It was only washed because we were printing it on fucking the worst Gildan product imaginable.
What the fuck do you think it was
and Hot
printed on
Topics
back
still
when
are
you
fucking
bought it,
doing
you
this.
dumbass?
That's what I'm saying. Gildan.
So what are you trying to say? If this was on like
you wash it once, it's fucking it's reduced to dust, atoms.
All right, so we gonna print this on like 100% cotton Champion t-shirts.
100%.
No, Monster Designs do not deserve that. It's not in the spirit of the Monster Design. The Monster Design has to be printed on some ass.
No, but on what?
Like ass level much.
You're saying bring back the okay.
I don't think it hits the same. I'm sorry.
There's a place for them.
We've moved on.
There's a place for them.
It's too late. Melvin asks, with the new Bring Me the Horizon video starting off with "Society is the ultimate crime against humanity," immediately putting me off watching it. Is corniness more lethal to a band than anything else, Marcos?
The song's called fucking Kool-Aid. Relax. Melvin, come on. What are we doing here? Also, it's Bring Me the Horizon. Like, the artwork for this song's insane. The whole, like, cool thing about the Amen video was that they, like, printed, or they burnt the new logo onto a piece of toast.
Yeah.
Like, Bring Me the Horizon is just going to be stupid in their videos.
All right. What is corny to you? What's something bands do that's corny to you?
Oh.
No, come on.
Corny to me?
Yeah. What's your corny? What's your, I see this in a music video, this should be corny. What gives you the ick?
What's corny to me from a band?
Yeah, like from a band. What do you see in a music video that immediately like you're turned off?
I don't know.
You fucking.
Do you have something in mind? Is that why you're like? Because I don't.
For me, the corniest shit in the world is the thing that we've like reiterated 700 times, which is like running it back that like
the vocalist
has
was
been dead the whole time.
That's the one.
It's like dumb shit like
yes, it's corny.
But it's like, is there just shit in general that like, you know what I really hate? bands who refuse to dress their age. I know that sounds weird, but like every time I see a picture of some band who still has like chains on their jeans and stuff, I'm like, grow up. Like, knock this shit off. Like, whatever member of Bullet for My Valentine still has like the wristlet, like, nah. It was cool, but now that you're doing it 20 years later is making it significantly uncool. Cut that shit out, bro.
So I
like,
don't know.
You gotta start you gotta get up with the times. You can't just like, you can't be doing all this fucking like leather jacket dumb shit anymore, bro. You gotta let it go.
I don't have one off the top of my mind.
All right,
Top of my head. I'm pissed. I don't know.
Marcos just likes shit. He just enjoys shit, bro.
I'm an
Marcos
enjoyer.
just be out here. He's just like, hey, go to the pit, mosh,
Call me Mr. and
row, dressed like a fucking banana, and have fun, bro. Marcos just is pro enjoyment. All right, let's
I'm
talk
pro
about
band, anti fan.
talk about some albums.
The breakdown.
Starting with For Keeps by Too Close to Touch.
Overthinking the best way to slip away. It's safe to say that the new me's here to stay.
This is the Lexington, Kentucky outfit's third and final studio album, released the 8th of March via Epitaph Records. For Keeps consists of 8 tracks and is the follow-up to 2016's Haven't Been Myself LP in the EP series I'm Hard to Love, But So Are You, which saw 4 volumes released between January 2019 and December 2020. All really good EPs, and Haven't Been Myself is an amazing album. For Keeps is sourced from a library of unfinished and unreleased material featuring late frontman Keaton Pierce, who passed away tragically in 2022 due to a medical condition he had been dealing with privately. And a mini documentary released on the same date of the album announcement earlier this year in January, guitarist Mason Marble and drummer Kenny Downey detailed the significance of the record and what it means for the future of Too Close to Touch, sharing that, and I quote, "Too Close to Touch would have never existed without Keaton and will not exist without him in the future. For Keeps is our last gift to the Too Close to Touch community. To be able to give it closure is a blessing," Kenny continues. To have this much of him left, his lyrics and emotions captured, not a lot of people have that. The band goes on to share that For Keeps, a play on one of Keaton's many nicknames, Keeps, is the final keepsake for themselves and fans. Mason and Kenny end the documentary encouraging listeners to keep close and let the record change them in whatever way they let it. A couple more things. The band also mentions seeking consent from Keaton's mother, his best friend, and others before embarking on the journey of honoring Keaton for the powerhouse vocalist, frontman, and lyricist that he was with this posthumous record. For Keeps also sees longtime collaborator Eric Ron on most of the production and mixing of songs, namely Novocaine, Heavy Hearts, Control, They Don't Even Know, Hopeless, and also some production credits on Hurt Reynolds to Dan Corneff and Matt Squire. And I think all of this was mastered by Ted Jensen. So all that to say is, a lot of people came together to make this happen, giving every second the care and attention to detail that it rightfully deserves. I think that we are mostly ready to discuss the actual contents of this album, but I did want to mention beforehand that while this is a review, we will be choosing not to give it any sort of number score, and that this discussion is more than anything else just a celebration of Keaton and a celebration of Too Close to Touch.
Yeah, it's a 10 on the basis that it even exists.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's where I'd kind of like to start is I can't believe we're sitting here in this moment. I was shocked we ever got Hopeless when that released last year.
In weird ways, I kind of wish we weren't,
Right. But obviously, all of the context I shared earlier, taking that into consideration, I'm just surprised this exists. Like, yeah. We live in a cool day and age where, and granted, maybe it's not this day and age, but a lot of legends have died over the years. And I think of like hip hop, that's the first one to come to mind. And you see a lot of posthumous releases come out of that genre. And, you know, maybe it's just because those guys are in the studio 24/7 and you don't really think, you know, a lot of the bands that we follow might be in the studio 24/7, but stuff like this, you know, a lot of content unfinished was recorded over the years with Keaton. And this is sort of like a, as much of what they could salvage as possible while keeping it respectful and all that.
I think that
it's just interesting.
I think something that feels very different to me, and I don't know if you'll agree with this, is that when I see a lot of the material that comes out posthumously for artists that have tragically passed away, but specifically popular hip hop artists, I always have this tinge of resentment towards the fact that it's being put out on the basis that I feel like it has a corporate backing that does not have its best interests in mind.
Right.
But more so the opportunity still left for them to drain any amount of money, or maybe even more money than before, from an artist who is no longer here with us.
Yeah, and that is also why it was important to me to mention, and I'm sure why it was important to Mason and Kenny to talk about the fact that, like, they seeked approval first before moving forward with this idea and delivering upon it. So I think it comes from the right place. 100%. This is not like an epitaph product in the sense of, like, they said, you know, round up the last bit of material and let's pump one last one out. This is very much just one last celebration of Too Close to Touch.
And for what it's worth, I'm not doing some sort of blanket statement on every posthumous release from a popular artist either, and the intentions behind it. I just tend to look at every major money-making machine at that level and think to myself, not everyone could possibly have the right intentions here, because I feel like at that level, most of them never do. So it is a strange feeling to... Linkin Park was the first one that came to mind for me, honestly, because we've most recently talked about, like, these after the fact releases that include Chester Bennington in them.
Sure.
And I guess I do like the fact that we exist in a universe where I can hear a song from Chester Bennington. I do still get the opportunity to hear Juice WRLD on a song. Like, that is... I don't know that it's a miracle of this age, because I feel like it probably could have happened before, but it certainly feels like it never happened with the consistency that we see it now, right? Is that fair to say? Though it is a strange feeling to dive into records like these, because I have such, like, strong emotions before I even hit play on the record that it was hard for me to hit play on this period. Like, I'm just sitting there thinking about it, and it's like there's like a finality to it. There's like such a strong attachment I have to this artist in particular. It's such a heavy feeling record before I've even listened to any of the songs on it, right?
Yeah. Well, and that it's interesting, the life that some of this music takes on when tragedies like this happen. I put here just a little snippet from the Instagram post that the band shared the day that they shared Keaton had passed back in March of 2022. We all relied on Keaton to put words to feelings like these and convey them in a way that was undeniably one of a kind. And this is like the important bit I wanted to really highlight here. Keaton lives on through these songs that we made together. He lives on through that feeling you get when you listen to them. And honestly, I remember reading that, and I'm like, the hurt of Keaton's passing, I stayed away from Too Close for a very long time. But I kept returning to that post and seeing that last bit, knowing that, like, someday I'd have to, like, go back to it and just enjoy this music again that I hold so close to my heart. And it also ended up being sort of the approach that I ended up taking with this new project, where it's like, hey, the end of the day, this is just a celebration of this artist, and I have to get over whatever emotion I'm feeling. and help them live on in spirit with this new music, with this old music, whatever it may be, because I feel like I, as a fan of this band and as a fan of Keaton, owe them that much.
Yeah,
like that's my role in all of this.
Understand and do mirror that sentiment.
Well, and it's also part of why we choose to review it here today on the show. You shared on the Twitter recently, like, hey, this is probably, if not one of the most important releases of the year, and it's because of that sentiment of like people like Keaton live on when you share this music and when you keep listening to it, you know. This is a very difficult discussion, by the way.
Yeah, because like you said, I'm not really interested in approaching this with any level of critical eye.
No, definitely not.
So, you know, Novocaine, I feel like, made some waves on the back of the Bad Omens feature and it being released just a couple of days before this came out. It's strange in a way how Bad Omens have attained such a signature sound that I can immediately pull that they had an involvement in this song. And then I was kind of thinking about this in relevance to Too Close to Touch and the way that I feel like I can pull that band in so many bands nowadays in a way that it feels like their signature touch has influenced so much of this scene. We're going to talk about...
It's that combination of what Eric Ron and Too Close to Touch were able to accomplish on those couple of, you know, EPs, those LPs they worked on.
It set like a foundation for so many other artists.
Right. And to the point where, like, we talk about Bad Omens, like, I heard Too Close to Touch's influence in Bad Omens before, you know?
It's crazy, these bands that, for all intents and purposes, Too Close to Touch was popular, but never really broke out like a lot of other bands, like a lot of their peers. But the influence that they had on so many other artists is just crazy to me. At least the perceived influence that I hear, in a sense that it always feel like Too Close to Touch was there first.
No, 100%. And man, if we're talking any band whose growth was stunted as a result of the pandemic, I think Too Close to Touch is up there in that conversation. You have to remember, like, we're 1 or 2 EPs, maybe 3 into I'm Hard to Love, But So Are You. And they're supporting like headline tours at the time, like, or supporting sellout tours at the time. Like, I just thought they had all the right things going for them. And then pandemic obviously hits. Volume 4 takes a while to come out. We don't hear from the band for a bit. Stuff like that, you know? Mm-hmm. But no, I think that, yeah, even in the short, like, 10 years this band existed, they felt really influential. And part of that's because you really couldn't go to anyone for this specific sound initially. And like I said, like, you would come to be able to, like, find Too Close to Touch in other bands, but man, it was really just Too Close to Touch still remains to this day a very unique band to me, especially in the post-hardcore realm.
Maybe I even understate the ways that they've influenced my own personal taste as well. Like, that they created something that I crave and look for in other artists.
We were listening to nothing like this when we discovered this band. It's cool.
I have a lot of respect, not just for Mason and Kenny for being able to put this together and get it this far,
see
in
this
spite
through
of everything.
Yeah,
but also the collaborators for, you know, being a part of something like this. Like, it's just like, there's a level of, I don't know, like, just adoration I have for everyone who's involved in this project in any capacity, from Eric Ron to Noah Sebastian and Telly Smith to Elijah of Cane Hill. And, Matt Squire is a crazy name to see on here too, by the way. I'm curious because if I did know, I feel like it's since lapsed in my memory. Did Matt Squire have a lot of involvement with like some of their most recent projects?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I'd be curious,
but when you listen to
Hurt
Reynolds, it's definitely one of the songs I feel like would have fit more naturally, especially on like that last volume of Hard to Love. So maybe.
I'm glad that so many talented people could come together to make sure that like this came to fruition. And I think that sort of, it continues to speak volumes about like Too Close's impact, but maybe more specifically Keaton's. Marcus, you have a note here on Novocaine. Keaton and Noah's voices come together as a timeless tribute to the friendship and artistic bond shared by the pair, per the band. Yeah. And obviously, I think one of the most powerful things that we witnessed in the last couple of years with the cover that Bad Omens was playing during their live set.
Yeah.
It's probably maybe the most attached I've felt to this scene in like a long time. Like the most I've ever felt like this scene was like a living, breathing culture and not just like,
a machine
entertainment to consume. Right.
Yeah. No,
like there's so much given here and given since Keaton's left that like has like really fueled my love for this scene in like ways that maybe had gone like slightly absent like in recent times. So it's just like there's something so wholesome about this whole project other than like the deeply obvious aspects of it.
Sure. And just really quick, do you want to drive some traffic over to that video where Bad Omens with the rest of Too Close to Touch, even the members that have since departed this band, come together in Nashville to perform Sympathy alongside the band. It's filmed. It's up on YouTube, like officially, I think, on the Bad Omens account. Really cool. Go check that out. It's emotional.
Did it catch you off guard how much this material sounds like the classic Too Close you had come to know versus the more recent like releases they had put out, which felt like the band flirting with like slightly different approaches and styles?
A slightly more diverse sound, different subject matter, stuff like that. Yeah, no, totally.
A lot of me wondered, like, I guess in my head initially I thought that any material that they had from Keaton would have been recent, but listening to this made me rethink that maybe it's more a compilation of material from the past than anything they might have currently been working on. Like maybe whatever they'd currently been working on had gone out and seen the light of day. So we went further back to get material that never actually like made it this far, was never released, obviously.
It's entirely possible. Too Close to Touch never released like a deluxe edition of an album. So, it's possible tracks like, Disappear, for example, was like the one that didn't make the cut on an
like
album,
Heavy Hearts or something.
Yeah.
Sure. Designer Decay for me feels like the biggest outlier and something that is like something stylistically outside of what I'd become accustomed to.
It's interesting. Yeah. Well, and that song too, I'd like to touch on a little bit more as far as just what Kenny and Mason also bring to the table can't be understated as far as their musicianship, the way that they compose their songs, like their arrangements, stuff like that. I love the riff in particular on that track. Just has this really wonderful energy, and it's the sort of thing where I listen to that track and I'm like, I've come to accept that Too Close to Touch is no more, right? Like that's the situation we're in. I appreciate that the band has decided to just end it with this release, but I want to hear more from Mason and Kenny. Whether they join an existing project, whether they go off and make their own thing, those are two talented musicians that I do not want this scene to lose. when we've already lost one of the most influential parts of this project.
It's obviously hard not to put like a focal lens on Keaton when so much of this is sort of based around him and the fact that he's passed. But yes, I do agree that like Too Close was a project of 3 members, not just an individual, and they clearly had a lot to bring to the project as well, of which is showcased in this project.
Right. Well, and it's not just this project, right? It's all over the years. My favorite artist wasn't Keaton Pierce. It was Too Close to Touch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So many aspects of this band I loved outside of just Keaton, right? And that can definitely be credited to both Mason and Kenny. So would very much like to see them continue on in some capacity, post Too Close to Touch here. Of course, that bridge from Noah in Novocaine is one of the most powerful things you'll ever hear. And I just wanted to share the bridge here because it speaks for itself. And I think Noah, just as a singer, the delivery, the emotion behind it all is just, it's gorgeous and it's executed flawlessly. And the bridge goes, if you still want to sing, fill in the blanks we need. You can do it through me while you're gone. In time, the price of peace will cost us everything, but all the love you leave carries on. So you can sing while you're away. Tell me the words you want to say. Give them to me and I'll relay. But no, it just won't be the same. And it that sort of crescendos with like this massive chorus that's built into Novocaine, and it's just one of the most touching things. It's the best feature I think I've ever heard in my life, honestly.
It's too real.
Yeah.
Honestly. It cuts a little too deep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and realistically though, when I saw that there was a Bad Omens feature on that song, the first thing I thought is I want to obviously address the elephant, quote unquote, in the room. And I think it was done beautifully and respectfully and all that. And it's not a surprise by any means, but I was impressed.
Did you have a favorite song that wasn't the singles that were released in advance? So obviously we heard Novocaine, Hopeless, and Control. Did one of the other 5 tracks really stand out to you?
Disappear really does it for me. That chorus is huge. Lyrically, I think Keaton's on his A game. And that's most of the project, right? But that song in particular, like really just, it stunned me, especially that 1-2 punch of Novocaine and Disappear right at the top it's just nuts. And it shows just how much, Keaton had left to give, how much was left in the tank, how much Too Close had left to give. And it also highlights just how truly much of a tragedy this is. So, how about you?
For me personally, Heavy Hearts really popped. I think that what I feel strongly on this record is that Eric Ron really did have a 6-member. I know there's only 3, but you follow
He was instrumental in this project.
I hear so much of him and everything that is Too Close to Touch that it's almost impossible for me to separate the band from him as well.
Well, especially because it feels like we discovered Eric Ron with Too Close to Touch. Like those 2 artists, that band and that producer were handed to us at the same time,
And Eric Ron is probably like the producer that I've most attached myself to since like the early days when I was really like, head over heels for guys like Joey Sturgis or Cameron Mizell and stuff like that. Eric Ron felt like that next wave to me. And it's crazy that, in ways where I feel like, those early guys have kind of like dissipated, not Matt Squire. But Eric Ron has felt like such a constant for me in this scene. Like Eric Ron and like the beginning of this podcast go like hand in hand. Like we've been reviewing releases from him like every other week since forever is what it feels like.
Yep. God, I'm curious what we first reviewed, because it very well could have been like a Too Close to Touch album.
Sure, absolutely.
Back in the day. Heavy Hearts, I don't know if you know, I think that one had been floating around a bit. I don't know if it was released as a demo back in the day, but I saw some comments on that YouTube video that said, I still remember when they dropped this on Valentine's Day all those years ago. And I'm like, I missed that. Yeah, I'm curious.
Completely gone past me.
Right. Well, I'm curious how long ago those days were. Like, was this 5 years ago? Was this 10 years ago? Really interesting. But yeah, that song definitely a standout. And just two more bits on just the features. Like, really appreciate what Elijah brought. Like, that's a whole different taste to Too Close to Touch a sound, right? Mm-hmm. And then Telly partnering up with this band for another time, a second time, having featured on a track on Nerve Endings, which is their debut album. I thought it was really cool for Kenny and Mason to bring him back into the fold, because I think
like some sort of full circle thing.
Right. Well, I think clearly Telly was someone that the band and Keaton admired, and it's cool to sort of get some continuity on that end. And I think Telly does a great job. Telly, for what it's worth, too, him and Keaton have a very similar, like, cadence, I guess, or
he
delivery.
Slots in incredibly easily here.
So it's just a beautiful effort on his part. Like, just, again, slots in beautifully.
To Telly's credit, he's always had such an insane range that he slots in almost anywhere at any point.
True.
So, credit to him. Truthfully, Marcos, I don't have too much more to say on this. Like I said earlier, it's just like its existence brings both like immense sadness and like incredible joy at the same time.
Yeah, very bittersweet. But ultimately I walk away from this album, and I do have a lot of music I'm going to keep on rotation. Again, because I feel like we all owe Keaton and Too Close to Touch that much. Just some closing thoughts here. At the very bottom, Sam. Too Close to Touch is Keaton Pierce, Mason Marble, and Kenny Downey. Long live Too Close to Touch, and may Keaton rest in peace. For keeps forever.
Hard cut.
Yeah.
Moving on, Marcos, we also listened to
Yume by Floya. This is the German outfit's debut studio album, released the 8th of March via Arising Empire. Yume consists of 10 tracks and is actually a collection of the band's entire catalog thus far, which dates back to March 25th, 2022, when they released their first single, Wonders. Floya rises from the ashes of Alaska and Time the Valuator.
The way you present that is almost like Alaska was like burned to the ground, and like from the ashes rose an alternative band.
Right. So, Time the Valuator, their vocalist Phil Bayer is part of this project, and then the guitarist Marv Wilder is from Alaska, which was a band that ended in 2020, which we were pretty fond of.
I was actually relatively fond of both of these bands in some capacity, in a way that it's like you could see both of them had like something, right?
I had less of like a memory of Time the Valuator, but I know we've talked about this band a couple of times just based on that name, considering it felt like we barely got any noun the noun bands. Is that verb the noun bands? Yeah.
Verb the noun. Even though that doesn't exactly follow,
yeah,
I understand what you're saying. But Alaska's another one of these bands where it's like they always felt like they were scratching at something really cool and never quite got there.
Right.
So exactly. I was like a little like sad when they ended up breaking up.
Especially too, because like there was like some member rotation, and like it was looking promising again, and then it all ended.
I forgive me if I'm wrong, but like the other half of Alaska went and started another band with like maybe a member of Novelist. I don't know. Like there's a lot, like they branched out in a lot of really weird ways. Or maybe the Novelist vocalist took over for Alaska for a little bit. I don't quite remember.
I feel like they traded places.
Send me straight in the comments.
My memory does not serve.
Yeah, if you know the lore better than me.
Speaking of lore, Floya is inspired by the Norwegian word fløy, which means wing and evokes the freedom to move independently and effortlessly, which I think when you listen to Floya, they get that across pretty fucking well. Yum is a Japanese word that translates to dream in English. Did you know that, Sam?
I did, because I looked it up in advance.
Okay.
But it can also be interpreted as like hope, like having hope in the same way that like you dream and you also have hope.
Dream.
So
of
there's
hope.
like, there's kind of like there's like nuance within that.
There's levels to this. Couple more bits here. Guitarist Marv and vocalist Phil found common ground by talking about their childhood influences, namely Peter Gabriel, U2, and Sting. And then, of course, formed this band with the vision in mind to fuse a fresh pop rock sound with the aesthetics of EDM and world music. I know you're very fond of world music, Sam.
I do enjoy world music.
What define world music for me right now?
It's the vinyl section I often skip.
Oh, God.
I was just thinking to myself, how crazy would a Vans Warped Tour stage go that was like Peter Gabriel, U2, Sting. Yeah, Sting's playing at 11:30 at the Monster Energy Right stage.
I don't like calling a Monster Energy the right stage.
Why?
It has weird connotations nowadays.
Oh, okay, all right.
So what about the left
Chill
stage,
the
Sam?
Fuck out, bro. You got the Democrat stage, you got the Republican stage, bro.
I also just wanted to add a tidbit from vocalist Phil talking about, and I quote, "When I left the music industry back in 2018, I didn't really know if I could return to what I loved doing the most. I kind of had to let go of a dream, so to speak. So when we created Floya and started writing this song, this was in reference to a single they had just dropped, I wanted it to be about positivity and having the endurance to get whatever you want to be in life, to get to wherever you want to be in life. I'm sorry. Wonders, that was the song, is a tribute to all the people out there fighting every day, no matter the circumstances, to live out their dreams, keep on pushing, and you will get there." And I think that entire message can be applied to the entirety of this album.
Literally
and these 10
slash
tracks.
review perfectly encapsulates everything that they set out to accomplish and did. This is like such a force of positivity. It's absolutely crazy. This album literally feels like a never-ending, like you've experienced nothing but rain and then pure sunlight washes over you. Like, I needed this album in ways that I don't even fully comprehend how much I needed this album until I heard it. Like, it just completely filled me with joy and hope. And I think that so much of the stylistic choices they make and like the sonic palette that is like layered throughout this album is great at evoking this feeling of positivity. It's just like from start to finish, every aspect of it is meant to pull a certain sensation from you. And I think this album almost does it effortlessly. If I didn't think that like it probably took a lot of effort to make something this well composed. I think that Floya are just like an incredibly bright, shining light in this scene. And I'm so glad that like out of the wreckage of 2 other projects, we could end up with something that is like magnitudes of greatness over both of them. Like what a level of kismet that like the stars would align for this not to work and this not to work. So we end up with these 2 guys finding each other and making such a little brilliant, positive piece of art.
This rose that grew from the concrete.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Floya is very much uniquely their own thing. You hit the nail on the head. Like there's when you're just trying to put into words how this music comes across, like there's few bands where you can say it feels like, you know, the sunlight coming out after a very rainy day. There's who in this scene,
bro? It feels
could,
like
right?
It feels like your dog licking your face, bro. It feels like 100 forehead kisses. It's so pleasant in ways that like it'll be a permanent palate cleanser for me for the rest of the year. Like the second that weather warms up just enough and like those windows get rolled down, like we're going straight Posicor, we're going Floya. Just like, we're shining a little light on like just a general like dampened like existence that we all live currently.
It's got like this whole new world Disney soundtrack in the 90s vibe to it sometimes, especially
without
on Wonders.
The absolute corniness that evokes in you when you hear the description.
Well, without like the dramatics, a little bit of like Phil Collins on the Tarzan soundtrack. It's still essentially that, you know?
Phil Collins, you say?
Philly Calls.
Of what band?
Phil Collins. Oh shit, is he from one of those bands?
I was actually curious if you knew this, which is
from
so
Sting?
funny. He is, yes.
That's cool. So I'm so on the nose there.
You've somehow stumbled,
nail on the
tripped
head.
over yourself and landed on it in a way that's very funny.
I fucking hate it here. It's funny though. I do keep wanting to go back to you mentioning like the rain and the sunlight thing, because that was my experience with this album. Is I tried, like, we had it in the inbox and I tried throwing it on a rainy day. I was like, you know, gotta listen to you. We were due to review it. I gotta throw this on. You know, gotta start now. Time's ticking. And it's a rainy day. And I make it like 2 songs in. And it's just the worst energy imaginable for it. And I just waited until the next day when the sun was out. It was like 50 degrees. It was beautiful. And it just made me happier.
It's strange to me. And it's always why I listen to it.
The optimal listening experience.
A few times, because I often have this experience where wrong time, wrong place can make an album sound completely different.
For sure.
And I want to make sure that like I give albums the benefit of the doubt and be like, was I in the right headspace for this? Though I will say there are aspects of this album that I feel like can pull you out of what would otherwise be, you know, a miserable day. I don't think Floya is necessarily meant to only be listened to when everything is like thumbs up. I think that it almost should also have the effect where it can bring a sense of like joy to you if you're not in that mindset.
Well, they also have a couple less happy songs, I guess. I don't know how to describe them.
Sure. I feel like we're talking about this album in a real abstract way, but it's like truly how I see it.
It's
like,
an
this album
abstract
is just
project.
Like, yeah, it's just like kind of an experience. And like that isn't to say that there aren't a bunch of like this album is a bunch of like individual singles and everything kind of like hits, and I really don't think it has any weak spots.
You know, that's pretty commendable too, because again, this was released over the course of like 2 years. Wonders being the first single, Lights Out was maybe like the last one, and Yume is the only song we hadn't heard off of this project. But for it to all still sound so focused and cohesive,
right? Like they
even
had
though
forward thinking there, like this wasn't a happy accident,
right? I can't imagine this band was sat down and were like, every song we write is going to end up on this debut album.
That almost feels like exactly where they got. And I'm almost coming at it with a different approach, that maybe this project was significantly more well thought out than we anticipated. Or at the very least, this band's approach has not dramatically changed since their first single. Everything does feel very much in tune with where Floya currently is and where they started.
Right. I'm really happy with this one. It's probably a 9 for me.
I'm gonna go right there.
And I've spent a lot of time with this, like songs on this album over the years. Like the hymn has been on rotation since it dropped like a year ago. That song in particular is one of the best ones on here.
Epiphany,
you said you're right there with me.
One of my favorites. Yeah, this is a joy on 10, honestly. Like, I think if I approach this album and its review as abstract, its score is going to be abstract as well. I just think
I love that.
This album is positive on 10. It's like, just like it's sunshine on 10. It's just fucking it's lovely.
And not in like the insidious way that some hopecore back in the day could feel.
It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel silly. It doesn't feel like it's been like packaged for a Hot Topic t-shirt. It just feels like individuals relaying their truth in a way that really connects.
Exactly.
We checked out one last album, Marcos.
Yeah, last but not least, Wave Machine by Makari.
I should tell you you're the reason why we're all fucked up. Now you're staring at the ceiling on the ocean floor. Breaks us down to nothing more than chemicals. Are you feeling it, feeling it, feeling it? You've been gambling with something that was never yours. Water keeps on rising till it's at your door. Are you feeling it, feeling it, feeling it?
This is the Florida Outfit's second studio album, released independently on the 8th of March. Wave Machine consists of 11 tracks and is the follow-up to 2018's debut LP Hyperreal and 2020's Continuum EP. Makari, for those who don't know, is fronted by Andy Cizek, who is famously the frontman of two other bands, Sam, Termina and Monuments. And of course they have other members, but Andy Cizek again, I wanted to highlight because he's got a fourth band in him. I know it.
He's quietly the biggest superstar in this scene. Like really like carrying the alternative music scene as like he's just like he's one more grocery bag carried into the house like of the scene.
The grind never stops.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like anybody else would have crumbled under the weight of two bands, but Andy went and started a third.
How much of Hyperreal do you remember?
Not a ton of it. I just remember the lead single like connecting with me on such a level that it is probably the song that made me sort of fall in love with Andy as a vocalist. And you are right. There are other members of this band, but for me, the standout is Andy in the same way that I think, while I like all the fun breakdowns in bands like Termina and Monuments, Andy is also still the standout of those bands for me as well. I just think they have such a powerful voice that kind of like cuts through literally everything else that's going on. And it's hard not to like feel completely mesmerized by it in a way that maybe supplants anything else that's happening in a track. And I will say in a way that like, if and when Andy ever falters too, I feel like these songs are held up by him, but if he's imperfect in any capacity, the song also feels like it sort of crashes in the same sense.
Well, I guess what I'll mention too, because you were sort of there. I'm going to go fully
I'm everywhere
there
all at once.
I think Wave Machine proves to me that Makari is my favorite Andy Cizek project.
I'm probably in alignment with you, but I was fond of that last Monuments record. Like, that's a band that feels like they're so close. Like, that next album could be the one that sends them over.
I don't disagree, but Makari just feels so natural to Andy Cizek in the way that this just feels...
You forgot Wonder.
Wonder?
Yeah, literally.
I only saw 3 bands in the fucking profile.
Hold on. Like, am I losing my mind?
Does Wonder still exist?
Does Wonder still exist? Like, that was another project he was a part of. Or am I fucking insane, right? Yeah, Wonder,
I think so.
God damn it. Yeah, WVNDER. I don't know if that's been sunset, but
maybe.
like, Okay, because like here we are talking about he could do another band, and like
you're right,
he did.
So we could do 5. We could do 5.
All right. If he wasn't so lazy, he would do 5.
Andy says it's just in their fucking bag in Makari. Makari is excellent. I think that
it's most best suited for his voice is what it feels like.
Yeah, and it's easy to see that when you hear a song like Closer, which is a single off this project. It's also one of my favorite tracks of the year, I think. Really fun little warm video that accompanies that one, and some killer lyrics as well.
It's crazy you said that's one of your favorite tracks of the year, because it's going into this album the song that I remembered best because we had most recently covered it, but leaving the album I think it's heavily overshadowed by a couple other tracks that are just absolutely like stellar.
I guess maybe one of my favorite singles of the year is a better way to just phrase that, but I think my ultimate favorite track on here, if we're jumping right to that, is Contigo.
That is one of them.
Contigo's so fucking good.
That is one of them, and it's such a like.
Anytime these little
not overly clever
in Spanish,
right? But just clever enough to be much more interesting than the vast majority of what's happening on this album. With the caveat that my actual favorite song personally is "And Now We Sleep in Endless Ocean." Which I think is like just it's really like this perfect like crescendo, like the peak of what this album is kind of like doing. I think it nails it.
The funniest thing about Contigo, real quick, is that the lyric is, I heard a Spanish phrase one day, is something like that, and it goes a little something like this, and then it's Contigo siempre, and it's like, is 2 words a phrase? Can that be considered?
I almost feel like phrases presented as like a saying. You know what I mean?
It was just a lot.
Forever together. Like it's just kind of like.
Well, seeing like the title and then like the lead up to that, I was just expecting like a full like sentence.
There's a beauty in its simplicity, but also like it's just splash of complexity to the fact that like. Injecting something with just like a little bit of flavor really goes a long way.
No, absolutely.
And even if that flavor is just like, hey, let me present to you my vocals, but in a different language for just a half a beat, it ends up feeling like it really hits.
Right, it's not out of place or anything. It hits more than anything else.
I would say the vast majority of this record hits for me. I don't really have any complaints about it. It's all pretty catchy. The melodies are really strong. The band is really in tune with Andy as a vocalist. Like they really sing to one another, if you will. The only moment on this album that I thought was underwhelming is Smoke, which it just feels like a slightly different almost like a different energy than everything. It feels like a cousin to the song Soul Stealer, but one that is not presented nearly as well as that one is. Like there's like a, I'm not sure what it is, or what the massive difference is between them, but it's just like there's like a slight intensity to Smoke that I just feel like does not suit this band in a way.
Yeah.
And it didn't work for me.
It contributes to this being like maybe one song too long, but overall,
in a sense that I would cut that song and I think this would be a like near perfect album. I agree with you.
Yeah. No, I'm super happy with this one. Eternity Leave, Gold Palace Kingdom has some fun lyrics. I think solid. I think after the Continuum EP specifically, I sort of I had like a base level expectation that like I'm really going to enjoy whatever Makari does, and this again delivers on that theory. Pretty happy with it. I'm probably like an 8 out of 10.
I was going to be cute and try to come up with a different number just so we don't give everything the same review.
It's got some fucking
right
bangers.
There with you. Yeah, it's like it's maybe almost like an 8.5 out of 10 for me. It's just really, it's like I don't really have any bone to pick with it outside of like that singular song and like have to decide at some like point value level what that means when the scores don't matter and mean nothing.
The news.
As always, news is brought to you by Spory Threads, the clothing label of the alternative music scene. Seeyouspacecowboy released dual new singles, Respite for a Tragic Tale featuring Iris, EXE, and Silhouettes in Motion. Both of them were combined for a music video directed by Hannah Hall and with creative direction from vocalist Connie Sarbosa. Both tracks will feature on new album Coup de Grace, which hits April 19th via Pure Noise Records. The album will also include previous singles Rhythm and Rapture, as well as Chewing the Scenery, plus additional features from Kim Dracula and Courtney LaPlante of Spirit Box. The album was recorded alongside Matt Squire, who is best known for his work with such scene staples as Panic at the Disco, Forever the Sickest Kids, Breathe Carolina, The Amity Affliction, 303, and more. The aforementioned Too Close to Touch. Connie Sarbosa shared the following in the band's press release. The album was a chance for us to refine some of the melodic elements we had recently introduced to the band, while also playing around with things and bringing back reinvented versions of past parts of our identity. The hope is that we made something that mixes the innate emotion of post-hardcore with the cathartic essence of dancing and allure of cabaret burlesque in a package reflecting the tale of a city on fire and all too tragic individuals in their indulgences and woes. I hope that people can look at this as a complete expression, not just, oh, this song has a good breakdown, but at the whole story, the whole setting, the visuals of it all, and the way the music all ties in. I hope they see the creativity of that and the risk we've taken by embedding Cowboy with more weirdo outside influences that you usually wouldn't see from a band like us. It's like a full, unified creative venture and something we put a lot of work into, so I hope they appreciate the weirdness of it. I feel like a lot of times people hear clean singing and more melody from a heavy band and think they're selling out, but no, we're actually technically weirder on the record than we've ever been. Iris.exe, Marcos, is a singer-songwriter whose last single, Sanctuary, was released in April of last year and is most recently featured on tracks from The Acacia Strain and From Joy.
Weirder than ever and better than ever.
Lot to chew on, yeah. Lot to chew on here. First things first, and I so deeply need this to happen soon before I burst a fucking blood vessel. We have got to move past this thing where we pay any level of attention to people who have criticisms of heavy music expanding and becoming more experimental. Because otherwise, it's going to be 2035 and I'm going to be reading this fucking statement from a band on my fucking last nerve, like, and just like walk out the window like fucking Tommen style, and like, we have got to stop. Enough. Like, if we just all like stop giving a shit about these people, we can move on. Like, let them have their circle jerk in the comments of every post with all their friends, and we can just like ignore them because they don't matter. Like, anyone who's in a anyone who's like, their first comment is like, damn, man, miss when this band was heavy. You cease to matter. You've eliminated your opinion from the conversation. You've shown everyone that you're too fucking stupid to be a part of the conversation. But we need to be more proactive and stop even considering them they don't matter. They've stopped mattering since forever at this point. Like, please, for the love of God, please, do not make me read another fucking statement from a band that has to walk this line between letting everyone know that they understand this might not be the heaviest song they've heard before, but need them to expand their interests and accept that the band is trying some things out, because fuck me. Like, please. This song speaks for itself. This song you should not have to apologize for anything that happened here. This shit is fucking so cool. Like this opening cabaret sequence with Iris where we're just singing like some kind of like this fucking old-timey like burlesque ass fucking like 1940s ass song, bro.
No snapping happening.
You can hear people smoking in the audience. You can hear the fucking martini being stirred and then the piano
shaken
in the
even.
background. Like this shit is so hard. It does not deserve to be attached to an apologetic statement in any capacity. Like this level of creativity is going to be celebrated by anyone with more than fucking 11 brain cells to rub together.
That's my favorite part of all this is introducing like a burlesque element to See You Space Cowboy sound. Also really jarring seeing this band's name shortened to Cowboy. Do not like that.
I loved it.
I don't.
I was like, it kind
I don't
of
fuck
goes
with it at
hard.
all.
It kind of goes because everybody else would be like SYSC. No, Cowboy. I love it. We're gonna start doing this. Who else can we do this with?
I don't know.
Are you listening to Horizon today?
No, well, it makes sense with certain bands.
Did you check out Sunday? Did you check out the new Sunday track?
Too close. Cowboy doesn't quite. Not for me. But yeah, the burlesque element and
but you know what puts the burlesque element over the top for me personally is the fact that they're working with Matt Squire, who I feel like was directly involved with the Panic at the Disco era of burlesqueness that they brought to the alternative scene. Like it's
right.
Another one of these myriad of ways that See You Space Cowboy really like breathes this nostalgic element into everything that they do while also like making it feel modern at the same time.
And I
like brilliant on brilliant on brilliant.
Well, underrated aspect of all this, I love the collaboration here with Iris.exe because the confidence that Cowboy shows in this artist to essentially carry an element of their sound that they are trying to introduce to the fan base. Like that takes a lot of confidence in that artist to deliver. And I think Iris does an amazing job of that.
It's crazy to me how dependable of a feature Iris is. My favorite From Joy song, my favorite Vatican song. Like the second that name shows up on
Cowboy
a track,
song?
yeah. You know what though?
Maybe
you know
it's a pretty good
though?
song.
For what it's worth, Chewing the Scenery goes so absolutely fucking insane, bro. They don't fuck around with that song, bro. Nothing but breakdowns and heavy
no
shit,
cleans.
bro. No fucking stupid bullshit on that song,
So
bro.
what? We've heard 4 tracks now from this, and
Yeah,
still
though, to be fair,
a lot
like,
to look forward to. A Courtney LaPlante feature, dude.
a Courtney LaPlante, but like
Who's the other one? What's the
Kim
other one?
Dracula?
Kim
Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, really just like See You Space Cowboy sniping me with the fucking exact what I want in this very moment? Crazy shit. Visually, it's all just stunning. Like this whole era of the band, like the promo shot of them in like the outfit, the attire that they're wearing in this video, like it all just connects so beautifully. Like
the black and white for the Iris song as well. Like you said, you can smell the smoke in that room because of that black and white effect almost.
it's like they waft through it.
Right.
It's everything here is just like a stunning 10 on 10, like just like a boon of creativity. Absolutely amazing.
And suddenly one of the albums I was anticipating, and now I'm really, really excited for this album for sure.
Marco's talking about anticipated albums. Like Moths To Flames have dropped new song Kintsugi. New album, The Cycles of Trying to Cope, releases May 10th on UNFD and will feature previous singles Angels Weep and Paradigm Trigger. Per the press release, Kintsugi is the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery by mending the areas of breakage with a mixture including powdered gold, essentially repairing the cracks with gold.
Those who paid attention in class will remember when Holding Absence taught us that last year.
Right. Crazy that we're getting something this like niche like 2 times in a row.
We're gonna get to the point where someone in the scene knows Japanese based off of just listening to scene music. Yum? Oh, that means dream. I heard the Floya album. Kintsugi. Oh, you mean the Japanese art of mending the areas of breakage on broken pottery?
This feels like, did you ever see that meme where it's like 27 Japanese character, like somebody go, like one of your coworkers goes, oh, you've never heard of 27 Japanese characters? Sure. And they're like, if it's fucking like Pokemon, I'll kill you. Like literally just say it. Just say it. Quote, when things go wrong, I think we are left to pick up the pieces and forced to choose which piece to leave with, says singer Chris Roeder. If it's not possible to leave with everything the way it was before it broke, how do you know what piece to hold on to? On the album, quote, the record encapsulates the many varying emotions we go through when trying to grow through life. The last few years, I really tried to harness some of those emotions as a catalyst to get through whatever I was going through at the time. I think we all have our own unique ways to cope, and these are mine. Marcos, each individual track on this record is a cycle of cope, tying everything full circle. Like Moths To Flames' last full-length record was 2020's No Eternity in Gold, which they followed up with EP Pure Like Porcelain in late 2021 and a couple standalone singles in 2023.
Damn, that was a long time ago.
All right, let's fucking on 3, Marcos.
Listen. I was waiting for you to count. Do you want me to count?
What if I was just like 1? Like,
2.
I was trying to really like stretch out the hours on this podcast, Marcus. 1, 2, 3. This is the best fucking like Moths To Flames song.
This is the best like Moths To. Listen, speaking on behalf of all of the dark divine truthers out there, welcome back, Kings. Bro. Oh my God, this is my favorite like Moths To Flames song so far of these new singles. And I won't say as far as like I think there was some really good stuff on Pure Like Porcelain, but something like Kintsugi is like Moths To Flames in their bag in just the way that I need in the worst way.
But it's like it's more so like I felt so starved of this in a way that I didn't even realize I had been. Like part of me was almost like annoyed at the same time as I was like happy. Like where the fuck is this been?
10 years ago,
we've gotten like 15 aggressively heavy songs, which I'm not going to complain about, which I will now when I say that we needed a few more Kintsugis on the strength, on the basis of how good this song is.
Yeah, like Moths To Flames always have been underrated in like the chorus department, melody department, and as much as they're fucking outstanding as a heavier leaning act, I always am going to have, there's always going to be a place in my heart for songs like Kintsugi. A fairly standard, like Moths To Flames song maybe 10 years ago, but more of a surprise nowadays because we just don't get songs like this from this band anymore.
Yeah, 100%.
In any capacity, really.
And it reminded me of the adoration that I had for Dark Divine, which was stylistically a very like strong pivot for the band, but one that worked to their benefit in a lot of, and I wish more people had connected with that record maybe so that
what's weird in my memory is I feel like people did and they still moved away from it.
Maybe not enough, or maybe I'm like misreading the intentions of the artist as well.
Right.
If
like Moths can do whatever they want at the end of the day.
If like Moths was in a mindset where all of this heavy music made the most amount of sense, but I'm glad we finally reached a point where something like this would be possible again. Because it's quite beautiful. And I think the music video is the perfect setting to deliver this song. Its simplicity works very well for the track. It doesn't distract or pull focus from the song. It just helps to elevate it.
No, good point.
Night Verses have teamed up with Incubus vocalist Brandon Boyd for a new track, Glitching Prisms. New album Every Sound Has a Color in the Valley of Night Part 2 hits this Friday on Equal Vision Records. The album will feature additional guest appearances from Anthony Green of LS Dunes, Tool bassist Justin Chancellor, and one-man metal band Author and Punisher. Part 1 released last year and was the band's first new material in 5 years following 2018's From the Gallery of Sleep. The band had this to say on the new track: Brandon has such an undeniably unique approach to his instrument. When collaborating with artists of his nature, you often expect to have to bend to their undeniable strengths to make it work. However, when writing Glitching Prisms with him, his take on the song was instantly the missing piece. Everything he did stepped up the composition and at the same time was so different from what he initially imagined. I don't think any of us could be happier with how it turned out. One final note, Marcos, for those who are unaware, drummer Eric Importa left Fever 333 in 2022 after 5 years with the band due to creative differences, which obviously speaks to the nature of the fact that it had been 5 years between albums for this project.
Right, having never officially left Night Versus, or did they?
I think Night Versus was just kind of like put to sleep, but without any like official statement.
Night Versus is a band that's taken a couple different forms. Used to be really into this band like 8-9 years ago when they had like a full-time vocalist,
Doug Robinson, who was the vocalist of The Sleeping and then later moved on to this project. And now I don't know that he's in the scene in any capacity, though. Part of me is like vaguely remembering The Sleeping putting out an album just recently.
Maybe they went back, who knows. And then like honestly, this band pivoted into instrumental stuff, and what I've heard has been okay, but I haven't really actively seeked it out. I think I will here with part 2, even though we're not even staying instrumental now.
I don't actively seek out instrumental music outside of like
Polyphia.
one or
Just say it.
Period. One specific act that's supposed
say
to be
their
in a way
name.
that instrumental band simply has not, right? Like they just have. But you do a lot of you meet me essentially halfway by having a few features that like really speak to me. Someone like Brandon, who I think is such a unique choice, especially in this scene, in a sense that I don't, nor do I think Incubus has ever in any capacity really flirted with the scene in any way. I don't think Incubus is a band that has like taken out bands from the alternative space that like we've covered at the very least.
It's one of my favorite things about this feature because I see that and I instantly want to listen to it.
It's so unique, right?
To make sense of why it's happening.
But then also you have someone like an Anthony Green, who is obviously like a vocalist that I like immediately like am connected with.
Also fits into like any band.
Yeah.
Really.
How'd you feel about this song though?
No, I got to talk about Justin Chancellor.
Let's talk about Justin Chancellor.
Is this going to be the first like bassist featuring on a song ever?
I don't know about the.
I know Tool is supposed to be like,
first.
You know,
like bassism.
One of those
bands.
bands.
Are that bassism is their thing ish?
Tool? I don't know.
I mean, they're like an instrumental project. Well, they're not an instrumental project, but they're obviously a band who's like very well known for
technically
how talented,
right?
How technically talented that band is.
Like, do we get a bass solo? I don't know. I don't know
because I feel like every once in a while one of these pops up and maybe it's just like a guitarist or something, but I feel like every once in a while we get a deathcore album and I'll see a name and I'll be like, who the fuck is, and then I'll go look at them and be like, oh, the guitarist for fucking You Didn't Know, and like I'm like, all right, this is interesting. I feel like you need to have such a unique flavor for me to pull out you as an instrumentalist versus a vocalist, right? So it's very interesting in that capacity, but I guess if I was the type of individual who ever like deep dived into instrumental bands in general, I would be someone who could pull out the difference between a few artists like this. You know what I mean?
Also, fascinated by the one-man metal band being called Author and Punisher.
Mask band too.
Shut up.
I know. I was very curious about them as well. Like I saw all this shit and I was like, all right.
Well, it's such an interesting sell. Like
one
man metal.
What is this
band?
American Sleep Token nobody told me about? What's going on here?
But I see Author and Punisher and immediately I'm let down. It's got to be because someone beat them to like the name Judge, Jury, Executioner.
No, I feel like if you do, you'll find out that like
Is Author and Punisher like a thing? Like,
I promise you on my life, it's somehow the name of a graphic novel you've never read before. I promise you on my life. That's what it always is. Every fucking time, bro. These band guys are all the same, bro. Fucking nerds, all the last. What'd you think of the track?
it's really fucking neat, and a lot of it has to do with Brandon. Like, I just didn't realize how much I kind of just really dig Brandon as a vocalist.
His instrument,
I do not go out and seek
immediately.
Incubus whatsoever.
Ever?
Outside of like the main songs, like whatever the last Incubus album was, I didn't hear it. The one before that,
you want to hear some crazy shit? You know the Incubus song? The name escapes me, but you know the fucking song, right? I remember watching. I vividly can picture hearing that song and seeing Future Trugs.
Of course, our discussion earlier on the DBZ AMVs,
right.
animated music videos. No, that makes sense, because that was, again, that's the time frame when that stuff was popular. That's like when the last big Incubus song dropped, that was in style.
Never ending calamity. Like, he doesn't get that fucking crazy in this song. Like, he's actually like really like, he's like toned down, bro. He's not even wearing shoes in the video. Like, he's so chill.
It's some real like
crazy.
Garrett Russell energy in this video.
Yeah. He's like
Happy
the OG
birthday,
Garrett Russell. Belated.
Yeah.
This was neat. I don't know that I ended up loving the song, but I was like fascinated by it. Like, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I didn't know what I was looking for,
project.
but it was just like, yeah, this is like a confluence of things that are interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Marcos, Alpha Wolf released a new single, Whenever You're Ready.
We used to meet the sunrise, face each other, warm and bright, chase away the darkness and blind to life. We could have caught a line, and that's why time changed for falling in all the same.
New album Half Living Things hits on April 5th via Grayscale Records. The album will also include recent singles Bring Back the Noise and Sucks to Suck, featuring Ice-T from Law & Order Special Victims Unit. The band had this to say on the new track. Alpha Wolf, love that this band speaks in the third. Wolf, like to let our listeners expect the unexpected at all times, and Whenever You're Ready is a testament to exactly that. We could feel the impact of this song from the moment the first chords were written. Dancing around on our melodic side, the song touches on the complications between people with a deep connection to one another and ultimately losing them. Everyone has a story to tell in this regard, and this is ours. Everyone has a story to tell. What is that from? Is that like
anything?
Is it like a Vanessa Carlton song or something like that?
I don't know.
Why is that like triggering a memory in me that I can't place my finger on? The band will embark on the Half Living Things tour this April in North America with support from Amur, Chamber, and Unity, Texas.
A thought popped into mind when you were like, you made a deal of them referring to themselves in the third, which was that bands by now are probably using AI to write these things out.
You're right.
Hey,
ChatGPT. Okay, I don't want to.
Write a song about. We have a new song called "Whenever You're Ready." Talk about how there's a deep connection between
We're talking about the press
people,
release, yeah.
And everyone has a story to tell. Just like spit something out there.
You know what's crazy is that I'm now remembering where I know that line from, and it's not Vanessa Carlton.
The Matrix.
No, it's from "Woe Is Me."
Oh, come on.
There's a fucking "Woe Is Me" song where like
I know what you're
yeah, there's
talking
who's like who has a story to tell. Right. Crazy that I confuse that band and Vanessa Carlton. Yeah, like we're the smartest thing bands could do is take advantage of AI to write press releases.
And I'm not saying that's what Alpha Wolf did here, but it's just a funny thought that came to mind.
They did.
I'm
gonna say they did.
As much as I like understand like a lot of these statements come from emotional places, doing this podcast has made me so fucking immune to any of them.
Right.
And it's just painful to read anytime.
It's not that it's painful. It's just you're right. It's lost its impact because I've read so many of them. Yes, you're precisely correct. In the same way that like I'm deeply infuriated by anyone who like is currently in a press release walking the line between letting fans know that the song is melodic but also still heavy.
Sure.
Which is kind of what this band is doing here, right? Because we got like two fucking like bangers like right out of the gate, and now we're toning it down. They did the same thing on their first album, right? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like single album. God, I forgot about the first album.
Everyone forgets about Mono.
So fucking good,
reason.
That really?
I hated Mono.
You hated Mono?
I think we gave Mono a bad review at the time.
All right, but like in the back of my mind, I remember there being some fucking absolute heaters on Mono. If that full album didn't come together, whatever. Like, I don't remember who I was back when I reviewed it, but there's definitely a couple fucking like heaters on there.
Well, that album again featured the original vocalist Aiden, whatever, who got kicked out of the band for a lot of reasons. Go on the internet and learn about them.
Or don't. You can just forget about it entirely for what it's worth.
And then obviously we had the what the fuck was the name of the EP?
Oh my god, you're right. You're right. I'm not thinking of the album. I'm thinking of the EP.
You're thinking of the EP.
There's one fucking song on that EP that every time it pops back up, like it changes my life again for the first time.
Omega Dog.
Bro, we're talking about 2019. We're talking about 2019's The Fault EP.
The Fault EP.
We're talking about 2019, which features no other than Sub-Zero. Absolute fucking banger.
Right. Sub-Zero was like
No Name.
New vocalist, like
banger.
No, it was like Black Mamba or something too. Like
Black Mamba wasn't
vocalist
on
walks
there,
in
but
a
Black
frame
Mamba
like
was
smoking a cigarette, and it's like
hardest shit you've ever seen.
The
in your
energy
whole
of Alpha
fucking
Wolf
life,
changed
dog.
forever.
You know what's crazy?
Do you remember Mono?
I do. I'm trying to remember.
I do not remember enjoying it. I remember enjoying the songs that came before Mono.
I'm looking at the track listing like right now. Like I remember this Golden Fate shit, like Golden Fate Water Break, Golden Fate Gut Ache.
Yeah.
Which is very funny that they rhymed to me. But yes, what I was remembering explicitly was the EP. And now I just suddenly I remember The Lost and the Longing existed. Maybe one of the most important releases in the history of this
Nail Biter, I'll always remember is the first song I heard from Alpha Wolf, and that song being like nuts.
Crazy shit. So now that we've relived Alpha Wolf, Marcos, how'd you feel about this new track?
Is it as good as Nail Biter? I don't know. It's okay.
That's a bad. That's a bad.
I think that this might be my favorite track of the new bunch.
I don't know where I sit right now. Because Bring Back the Noise kind of fell a little flat on me. I like the almost absurdity of everything that is Sucks to Suck. From the music video to the fucking Ice-T feature to the fucking Letterman jackets that it's presented with. Like everything about that song is really fun to me. And then I'm just like kind of somewhere in the middle on this one. I don't know if it hits. I don't know if it hits quite as well as like was it called Bleed for You from that second album?
Oh, it doesn't come anywhere close to Bleed for You. Bleed for You is one of my favorite albums.
That's like tracks. Going into this, like that's the high mark this band is set on like their melodic side, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the high mark, and I don't think this hits it. And I
doesn't have like a similar energy either, but I
found the music video really distracting. Like it feels like a million neat ideas, and some of them come together, but then some of them don't. So like I think that I was almost like in listening to this song, not as focused on the song as I would have liked to be, because there was so many visual elements that just sort of like pulled me in one direction or another in a way that I don't think benefited the song, right? So maybe I have a higher criticism of the music video than I do the are you doing 60 centimeters of steel there? Is that what that was?
No, I was pulling rope, but yeah, you're right.
What you mean. Okay. I'm glad you liked it though, because I know that you weren't particularly high on Sucks to Suck where I was. So I'm glad that we're finding like some middle ground here.
It's just a little too all over the place, and it's not because of like the Ice-T feature. That's probably like my favorite part of that track. I think the video is extremely distracting, and I think I almost prefer the video for this one because it's less distracting.
Interesting, and it's crazy that I had the exact opposite experience with this.
Well, and it's a weird thing to say because like Alpha Wolf at this point in time is known for how fucking insane their videos are.
Yeah, like they're very like stylistically loud. I feel like we try a lot of things in this video and not all of them click. I think that's overall where I land on this is that I was maybe more distracted by the video than anything and need to like separately go just like experience the song on its own without any of the visual element distracting me.
Curious to see what you come back with. And that album again due out fairly soon next month.
Mark's last story of the week, Lightworker released their new single Burn Scar.
Rain down from the sky.
New album How the Beautiful Decay drops on April 19th via Solid State Records and will also feature single First Light. The album was produced by Beau Rochelle of Seiyouspacecowboy and will follow up their 2020 debut record, Fury by Failure. The band had this to say on the new single. Put simply, Burn Scar is a song about resisting the barriers society has instilled in us in favor of showing each other love and compassion. It's a sincere hope that we have the courage to accept our faults, learn from them, and to nurture not only each other's friendships and community, but where we also inhabit before it's not too late. Marcus, this band will be heading out on a short run, starting today, the day we're recording this, I believe, with I Set to Kill, which I thought was an interesting bill. Yeah.
Very interesting bill.
What'd you think of this one?
Lightworker's a nice little surprise.
They are a nice little surprise, aren't they?
And I like a lot of the pieces of this, like production from Beau of Seiyouspacecowboy is really neat.
I went back and I was trying to see like what else like Beau had worked on, and he had like a playlist of like tracks that I assumed he had been a part of, and like I saw Foxglove from Boston Manor on there, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. Did not realize he had something to do with that band. And then I went and looked at like the albums he had worked on, and I didn't really see anything that like popped out to me. The one that like kind of stood out was like the most recent or one of the most recent Senses Fail records, actually.
Really?
And I was like, huh, that's very curious. Very curious. But I almost expected him to have a bigger discography of bands I knew. He worked with Moose Blood a lot, which is like, I guess, unfortunate at this point. And I guess that would be like the other name that like really stood out to me. But there wasn't much more outside of that.
Very interesting, though.
Yeah, it's a name like this that I was like, oh, I'm sure he's worked on a bunch of other things. And then I went to look and I was like, actually, not as much as I thought.
Also, the fact that this band's had a fucking debut record before kind of came as a surprise. You know, these things get released and unreleased. Everything.
This band had been on the periphery for me. But I didn't realize until I listened to this song what specific corner of metalcore that they were trying to emulate. Yeah. Oh. Like this fucking As I Lay Dying, Miss May I, like sort of metal heavy, sort of like riff heavy shit with like some guitar solo in there. And they really make it work. They make it work better than both of those bands have done recently, respectfully.
Okay.
This almost sort of made me a little bit more passionate about this style of metalcore than I had been in the past, which I think is like the biggest compliment I can pay to this band.
Interesting. Sam officially back into metalcore.
I'm a big Lightworker guy. I also like the visual elements and the aesthetic choices of this video as well, which has this like neat effect of like somebody painting and then like the like a person opposite of them sort of painting that same thing on themselves at the same time, as what I'm sure is like a deeper metaphor that I should do this band the bare minimum of going out and understanding a little better at the very least, before we inevitably maybe discuss this album in the future.
Yeah.
Marcos, one anniversary this week that I wanted to talk about, just one. Will Ramos played his first show with Lorna Shore 4 years ago on March 6, 2020. Two things that are crazy about this for me. Well, first, Will Ramos having been with Lorna Shore for 4 years is fucking insane. Absolutely fucking insane.
Time ain't real, bro.
I tweeted this out, and Will quote tweeted it and said, I walked off stage and cried after this because I thought I played so badly. I'm paraphrasing, but something along those lines. And I was like, what a crazy insight into someone who I would argue has been one of the most influential like members of like the deathcore genre of the last like 20 years. Like for me personally right now, Will Ramos and Lorna Shore are the face of deathcore, and they're the face of deathcore. On the back of the success of finding like someone like Will Ramos to front this band.
Right. Meanwhile, cut to all the fans that experienced that show that night, who saw God for the first time after that set.
Yeah.
Or during that set.
Right. To have that thought about yourself as like the thought I currently have of you, which is that like you are like
you're
arguably the frontman of the deathcore genre personally. Yeah. Another thing that I thought was absolutely crazy about this is talk about that fucking last Under the Wire like pre-COVID show.
Yeah.
Like, bro, God. You got that. Like,
I feel like these were overseas shows.
It was.
Too.
This was a show in Europe. I think it was like Belgium or something like that. Just seeing like that date, I was like, did they finish this tour? Like
they didn't.
Like, did Will Ramos play like
home.
2 shows with this band and then like never played a show with them again for like 2 years?
Just like every other tour, that one was cut in half.
Right, but what's so fucking crazy about this one is that like with Will Ramos just starting out with the band, it's like it was immediately like kind of cut out from under them in that sense.
Yeah, no, not wrong. It's crazy to think about. But honestly, probably for the best, because they obviously got to work on that EP pretty shortly after.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Like everything worked out in the end. It's just like every once in a while, like it's not like I forget COVID exists in any capacity, but like I forget the impact that it had, like the level of impact that it, like I forgot like how catastrophic it was to like something like the music industry where like every single tour under the sun got canceled and like live shows just didn't exist forever.
It's insane how quickly things happen, especially
I see that date and I have like PTSD.
Well,
you know what
also
I mean?
like those first 3 months of March, because I think like January 1st, if not already kicked out of that band, very soon we'll get kicked out of that band as CJ McCreery. And then the band like a couple days later moves forward with the decision to release Immortal with CJ still on vocals, because they had almost gotten to the finish line, so they just wanted to get it out of the way. I get it.
Right,
I
like the
understand
vinyls
it.
were sealed in their FedEx
Right.
packages. Yeah.
Maybe. Well, yeah, FedEx or vinyl used to release before albums came out. Of course.
Right.
Those are the days.
Those are the days. You're right, because like in the video that I went and shared on Twitter, it was like Will Ramos singing Darkest Spawn, like not any like track that was like exclusively Will Ramos.
Right. So all that to say, it's like, man, what a fascinating set that must have been. So heavy on Immortal material.
What an insane window in time for like a bazillion different reasons.
Yeah, and obviously, as much as like people give credit to like that EP for being like the moment that Lorna Shore really broke through, it was really with a lot of that material on Immortal, and because of shows like this that Will played with that band that they snuck in right before COVID, that like people got to experience what was ultimately the new taste of Lorna Shore, and I think were feral for it by the time material that actually featured Will came out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And honestly, it makes sense that they would fucking then go on to explode. Maybe not to the lengths that they did, but like, yeah, pretty cool overall. A really neat anniversary.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, once again, for $3 a month, you can become a patron of the show, patreon.com/SOTS podcast, gain access to our deluxe podcast, which will include conversations this week about the new tracks from Scene Queen, Millionaires, and The Plot in You. Good shit there. We appreciate your support, even if it comes in the form of 5 stars on Apple or Spotify, or a thumbs up on YouTube, or a comment detailing why this is your favorite Dragon Ball Z character, whoever it may be.
Or a comment that's like, I can't believe you guys still think this band is Canadian. They're not.
Or are they?
We got that comment this week.
All right. Have a good week, everybody. Bye.
Good fucking play.